Hello and a warm welcome to Forever Blues, your podcast for all things Birmingham City. My name's Neil Moxley, my co-host is Colin Tatham, and as per usual we're here to dissect, discuss, basically hopefully point a few people in the right direction with a little bit of inside knowledge onto what's happening at our beloved football club. Before we start, I'd just like to say a grateful thank you as always to Davison's Law for sponsoring this podcast. So, Col, plenty of water's passed under the bridge since we last spoke, which was in the aftermath, obviously, of the fantastic announcement about our new home. I just wondered, obviously, we're gonna deal with what's happened recently first. West Brom, what were your big takeaways from that?
I thought it was pretty much a familiar tale for Blues on the road. Start wasn't great. It seemed off, and Albion were more dynamic and got after Blues a little bit and stopped them doing what they would normally do. And obviously, it was a bit of an untidy goal. It was an element of fortune in it. Obviously, it was Neumann. Phil Neumann dangling his foot and it deflects past James Bede. Well, that was unfortunate, but Blues just didn't get going. It's sort of a little bit like the Wrexham game, like the Stoke game, those two, away from home. And then after the break, I thought Blues were pretty much dominant and in control. And you sensed a goal was coming. And I think Chris Davies was caught between twisting and sticking, because I think we were all thinking he's waiting an unusually long time to make the substitutions, who usually bring some fresh impetus. I think he explained that afterwards, didn't he? There was elements that stopped him bringing them on earlier, but you did sense a goal was coming, and Blues got one, and you felt they could go on to win. But a draw was probably a fair result. Albion, I know they had the chances on the counter, didn't they? Really, second half, but they didn't really hurt Blues in so much of looking like they were in control of the game in that second half.
No, I'd agree with that. I mean, my overriding takeaway in the first half, and it was interesting to see the post-match verdicts of both Clara and Tommy Dawn. They said they actually unprompted said we were poor in the first half. Chris Davies didn't go that far actually afterwards. But I thought they looked leggy. I thought they looked leggy, and I can't quite put my finger on it. I know the narrative to the sort of like coming into the game, and sometimes all of us as football observers are not capable of looking beyond our own, rose-tinted spectacles, is that West Brom needed a reaction. They've thrown away a 2-goal lead at Coventry, and they're going to be well up for this game. And Blues, I don't know whether they were caught cold, or they were looked leggy, or whatever the reason was, they just seemed completely off it. The passing lanes weren't really open. They couldn't really get Ducksch into the game at all. I mean, I think there was a stat sort of saying, taken 2 touches in the first half, or first half an hour or something. It just looked completely disjointed, which was strange given obviously, if we go back 72, 96 hours, whatever it was, to the Norwich game, they were certainly on it then, weren't they?
The football in that first sort of 15-minute spell and the first half was outstanding. One-touch stuff, zipping around off the pitch, the combinations, literally just blew Norwich away, really. I don't know, Norwich went into the game, with a new manager. He only had a few days to work with him, Philippe Clement. But you could see he was standing there thinking, blimey, this is night and day, these two teams.
Yeah.
And I think I wrote on the website, Forever Blues website, that Blues look like a team that are comfortable with themselves. They know what they're doing. Everybody knows their role. They know how they're playing now. They're settled. Norwich looked a bit of a mess, lacking confidence, as befitting their run of form and league position. And if you go back a few years, I remember when we went to Carrow Road, and basically when they had Cantwell and Pookie and what have you, they just popped us off the pitch.
Yeah.
You fast forward now to a few years to here and now. We did that to them. So this is how this team, this club is developing and growing. That just struck me on the day. But yeah, and Blues were very clinical, very ruthless. And in fairness to Norwich, they had a good go, and they got in and around the box and had a fair few opportunities, more so than a lot of teams that have come to St Andrews. But Blues defended really well. And the point there you're mentioning about looking a little bit leggy at the Hawthorns, I agree with. And I thought that maybe Chris Davies could have given a few of the frontline players a bit of a break early by bringing them off.
Yeah.
Even, it's 3-1 to 4-1. It's like, I don't know. And again, the Albion game coming on Wednesday, not Tuesday. So I don't know what is the reason for that. I don't know.
Yeah, I just wonder whether and again we've touched on it before with the power of the St Andrews crowd. I think it does count for something now. If you're turning up at every single game, and it is an event, and it will be an event on Monday night against Watford, because the eyes of the nation will be on us, because there's nothing else on Monday night in football. So, they'll want to put on a show, and rightly so they should. There'll be another full house, and people will go there, expectantly, and Blues will be on the front foot, as you would expect them to be, because they're at home. And they'll, and it just seems like Jekyll and Hyde, and we'll come on to that, shortly. I just want to say, really, as well, I know people have said, we'll take the point and move on. I think I just want to pick up your point with respect to, he could have changed things a little bit sooner. I mean, I thought Dimmy was off it, as good as he was, and that was the best game. I thought his best game against Norwich, I thought he was off it. I thought Paik was pretty much anonymous, really, to be honest. Ducksch couldn't quite get into the game, whatever. I'm not saying the bloke didn't try, can't play, whatever. He just couldn't get into the game. And yet, there was some performances. I thought Cochrane played really well. I thought he had another really good 7.5, 8.
He's in real good form. He's got a handle on the Championship, hasn't he? Credit to him.
Iwata, while not as influential as he's at home, I mean, you had a text conversation, he said, I think you've been a bit harsh on him, and I agree with you now. In the cold light of day, he was, trying to do his best and power forward and become an additional man. Tommy Doyle got the man of the match. I thought he played well. I don't think it was. I don't think people should, necessarily. I know it's easy to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, let's draw a line under that one and move on. I still think there were. I hate to say it, but there's still some positives to come out of it, mate.
Yeah. I was looking at the recent record. Apart from the Scott Hogan hat trick, we just have not had a good time at the Hawthorns. And again, I think it's two teams going in, I don't want to say opposite directions, that's pretty disrespectful to Albion, because they have got good players, and it's a good setup there, but you do feel that in future years that Blues could be going in an upward trajectory, as I mentioned, using the Norwich City as an example, and you just sense that. But you mentioned there the good teams, the ones that will get promotion, win cups, titles, whatever, that they will find a way to win, and they will also be strong, obdurate, and difficult to play against when they're away from home. Yeah, Blues are a bit of an odd case at the moment. The home form is excellent; it's at the top 3 in the Championship. The away form, the 21st in the away form table. Yeah, tells its own story, doesn't it? But again, they do play well. They have massive long periods of away games when they're dominant. Yeah. So it's finding that final little bit, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, it was quite a strange game. Yeah, they could have been cut to adrift, and after an hour, which I don't think, and I certainly couldn't, complain really about the fact Albion went in a goal ahead, even though it's got such a good fortune about it. And had they been 2 down at the hour mark, it would have been. We'd have all been praying for what happened, at Stern John in the last minute type of thing, because it had got that sort of like flavour about it, didn't it? I mean, I know Ryan Mason's got his own agenda to push, but in going at the final whistle, we had a 3v1, we had a 2v1 and all this business. Okay, fine, but it all came about because you got turnover in Blues effectively what was Blues going forward. You've just countered quickly because Blues have committed so many men to try and find the equaliser. They weren't cut open. Do you know what I mean? And there's a distinction in my book, but I understand why Brian Mason said what he said. But you've got to give them a little bit. You've got to give them a lot of credit actually for digging in and turning it round. And I thought on the balance of the last half an hour with the game at 1-0, if you just looked at the last half an hour in that game, you'd have said, well, the team in red deserved a point. Can
I talk about Marvin?
You can talk about Marvin. He's a friend of yours, isn't he?
He's a friend of mine. Obviously gets his first 2 goals against Norwich City, gets the equaliser. It's a really good deft header actually. As you mentioned, he wasn't quite in the game as Blues would have hoped at the Hawthorns, but when he has played, you can see in that sort of front four, if you want to call it, especially him and Stansfield, Jay Stansfield, they do really well for each other, and that's quite a pairing, whether you want to call them a 9 and a 10 or a traditional pairing or whatever. I think him coming in has made a real difference. And some of the, as I mentioned, the interchanges against Norwich City with Ducksch very focal to it was immense, breathtaking.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, I think the other thing I would say about Stansfield, I want to pick up on this point after in the Albion game, work rate, didn't know his best game, but by God, the kid put a shift in. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely, was there, and that's why I sort of like feel a bit maybe, I think it's a bit mealy-mouthed of sort of say, I've done it, but just on this particular, you sort of saying, well, nobody played well, but let's move on. But no, hang on a minute, I think Stansfield did, and I think he's going to grow as a player alongside Marvin Ducksch. I think Marvin Ducksch coming to Blues, could be the best thing for Jay Stansfield.
That's a fair point. Point.
And I think he's really come on, and he's in terms of that number 10 position. And funnily enough, I actually saw him on the pitch on Saturday against Norwich. I know this sounds ridiculous, but I thought he looked a bit bigger. He actually looked a bit more physically imposing from the last time, which was only 2 weeks before. But I actually thought,
what are you implying here?
He's been whacking the protein shakes and all that carry on down.
Mainlining creatine.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, I thought he looked. I don't know. It's a silly thing to say, and I appreciate it's a silly thing. But he's now 23 years of age. This is his third full season at Championship level. He's already had a season before that at League One. I think we'll see him blossom into a proper player by the end of this season, if he stays fit.
Yeah. What did you make of Paik Seung-ho coming back? I think that took everyone by surprise, because we're expecting the poor guy to be like sort of his shoulder out of place and an op maybe, but I don't know. Somebody, I think on Twitter, on X, was saying like the guy's neck or shoulders must be made of steel or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all comes down to exactly whether or not there's any ligament damage, doesn't it, with shoulder injuries. So clearly, I think Blues were after a second opinion on it, just to make sure, and I don't think clearly the initial prognosis up at the Riverside wasn't too bad. I didn't think he had his best game.
No, again, I'm with you on that. He wasn't quite on it like a few.
Yeah, but it's a little bit, like I say, that happens to everybody in every workplace, doesn't it? Shall we talk about the disparity between the home and away form in a bit more detail? Because you've got some.
Yeah, I was going to actually go into this. You just ruined it, actually. I was just going to say, do you like your Australian soaps?
Oh, no.
And then you'd go, what do you mean? And I would just throw Alf Stewart, Donald Fisher, Flathead.
A bloke's not a galah, That's the. I still don't know what that means.
And so the joke would have been home and away.
Home and away. Yeah,
okay,
sorry, mate. We did discuss that. I've ruined it for you.
I mean, this is such a slick show, isn't it? Anyway.
Yeah.
So the disparity between Blues at St Andrews at Knighthead Park, and various points around the country in the Championship away from home. What is it? I know, obviously, at home you're going to be. Naturally, you'd expect better results away from home. That's part of the course. But there is quite a marked disparity, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, I think we've mentioned it on previous pods, and again, it balls my you-know-what, because, they start slowly again, and they're a goal behind again inside the... I mean, what was it?
Yeah, conceded the first goal in 8 of 9 away games, and on average, it's before or on the 21st, 22nd minute, so they're up against it.
Yeah. The only time they haven't was when they scored at Preston. They managed to put a pretty resolute performance together and come away with the 3 points. They're not even giving themselves a chance in games if they're conceding, within the first quarter. Because obviously then the onus isn't so much on home teams to come at Blues. It's for Blues to go after the home teams, and then we see pretty much, let's face it, Albion, if they'd been a bit more ruthless, could have put the game out of sight, couldn't they? So I don't think, I think you're right. It's the result has, wouldn't say masked the problems, but it's not brought them to fore it would have if Albion had run off with a 2-0 victory.
I mean, as you know, I've been looking at a few stats and what have you, just to back up what we're seeing. And Blues, for 521 minutes they've been trailing away from home. It's 9.4 minutes at home.
Right. Oh, right. Okay.
So and the other thing is as well, the joint low scores on the road, 6 goals.
Yeah.
I mean, what can be done? Do you think? What you're the manager. What would you do? How do you change?
How do you change
it?
Well, I think it's just a mindset. I think they have to go out there with and sort of. be at it from the first whistle, because clearly they aren't when they're away from home. I do think there's a difference in the way they approach the games. On the front foot, they're right at it. Back the whistle goes, and they're right at it from the first minute. They've scored inside the first 10 minutes against Portsmouth. They had a penalty after 5, didn't they? Scored inside 10. Certainly did against against Norwich. That was 3. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden they're on the front foot, and hey.
But you can't expect an away team to suddenly swarm and press like the lives depend upon it. Surely on somebody else's home patch.
No, but I think what you can do is you can get after teams. And make life difficult for them and close them down and get in their faces early on and give them nothing. And try and establish a foothold in the game. I think there's going to have to be a bit of deep thinking going on by Chris Davies on that one, because it is hampering Blues. I mean, the one thing I would say is they've had a particularly difficult run of away fixtures. If you look at the teams who are up there, I mean, nobody's running away with it, but we've said previously, and I played Cov, they played Stoke, they played Middlesbrough, they played Preston, played at Bristol. All these teams are up there at the moment, so they've not been gimmies by any stretch of the imagination. But it would be nice to see them coming up with a plan, because if they can crack that.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I know you love these stats, so I'll throw these at you. 68% of the total points and 76% of the total goals have been at St Andrews.
Yeah, I mean, there was one that came out of the West Brom game, and the XG was something like 0.1. I mean, I'm not one for XG, overall, but it does give you a reflection.
But in that game, Blues XG was better than Albion's. It was healthier. So, and again, but the 6 goals tells you a lot, doesn't it? That there's definitely Blues are up there in terms of sort of chance creation and what have you away from home, but it's just finishing them off and just being a bit more ruthless, really.
But
like you said, it's the start. You don't help yourself if you're always chasing a game.
Yeah.
The home team have something to hold on to, obviously, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. We've all been there, and if teams that are going to be successful in the league need to obviously be, and the other thing as well, Colin, it piles pressure on you. It increases the pressure on you. If you say, "Oh, it's all right, we win every week at home," well, hang on a minute. You can't just toss away 3 points just because we're getting on the bus to travel to Sheffield or whatever. So yeah, I think it's something I think it's a mindset, and I think they're just going to have to take a more pragmatic approach away from home. Perhaps not try to. I don't know. Perhaps not try. I mean, whatever the failings are, they appear to be. They appear to be soft goals as well. Even that one was from a long throw, wasn't it, on Wednesday? That was a bit soft, really. They weren't picking up. Were they not picking up at the edge of the area? I mean, Mo, it had a long time to come down and for him to steady himself to hit the thing. And again, the goal at Middlesbrough, the first one. On Dale Fry getting a boot to it inside the 6-yard box. I mean, come on. I just think they've just been a bit too soft too often, and it needs to change.
On the other side of the coin, though, I mean, you cannot fail to have enjoyed what we've seen at St Andrews this season.
No.
Even the whole City game, which was a defeat, it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was great entertainment, wasn't it?
So, and again, like you said, the power of that crowd is something as well. It's a place where people want to come to watch. Then, as I mentioned, the club is, dare I say it, Birmingham is on the rise. Yeah. But it is, and it will be interesting actually to find out what opponents do now think about coming to St Andrews, whereas when it was a half-empty stadium and it was dim and dank and everyone was sitting on their hands. Yeah. Everyone could just rock up and walk away with a win, couldn't they?
Yeah.
In those days, which weren't too long ago, but now it's a different proposition, and under the lights, as we always know, it's always something special. And Monday night, it's Monday night. It's Watford. What do you make of Watford? They're a bit of a strange fish this season, I think.
Yeah, they are. It's very difficult to know what to expect. Mrs. Moxley's seen them play Coventry, and she's got, obviously having lived with me for like 20 odd years, she's got an exceptional knowledge of the English game. She comes back and apart from Burnley, who she despises with a passion for some reason. I think just basically because they're anti-football. And she saw them last year come back, just was scathing about them. Obviously, Coventry went 3 goals up pretty quickly against Watford and broke the back of the game. But she said, one thing she said was they're a bit suspect at the back. She said, but they have got some real pace going forward.
Yeah.
If you overcommit yourself, you're going to get caught on the hop by this lot.
Yeah, if you go, I know you obviously do. If you go on the Forever Blues website, one of our expert contributors, James McClare's obviously in our opposition insight. He's made that point. Actually, he said they're quite passive, out of possession. They don't really press you, and they don't play through the lines typically, and they are prepared to go along because they have got pace, especially wide areas, and they are a danger on transition. I think they're unbeaten in 5 at the moment, but they are fallible, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
So I think it will be a question of not how Blues break them down. Like I said, I don't think they're overly aggressively pressing team, but they'll try and block spaces and passing lanes and what have you. So it might be an evening for patience initially.
Yeah, I mean, unbeaten in 5 sounds like they're getting a little bit of momentum going there, doesn't it? To be honest, I mean, so not to be taken lightly.
No.
And they are my bet noir to drop a bit of a, I've not forgotten 1984. Really would like us to win. I apologise to my old colleague Mike Walters, who's a rabid Watford fan, but I'm just not having it.
Yeah, they've got. I mean, and also James singled out a couple of players. Imran Loser, is it Loser?
Yeah, he's been there a while, hasn't he, Loser?
Yeah, he basically does everything. He's an all-round, excellent talent. And then I think they've from injury, Georgi Chakvetadze. Chakvetadze.
That tripped off your tongue, didn't it?
It does, yeah. He's just come back. He's a player at this level who is excellent. But like you mentioned, the wide areas and the sort of the pace that they do have, it needs to be respected.
Yeah. I mean, it's been all told, it's been a really good week. Obviously, we've got the 150th programme there. I just want to just finally sort of wrap it up by sort of like saying that the club put together wanted a vox pop from the supporters about the all-time greatest 11, and I came across one of those players who was on the fringes of that greatest 11.
And how did they take it?
Not that well. So picture the scene. It's Thursday night. It's Villa Park. And working for, I think, TNT, doing the co-coms, was one R Savage ESQ. Great to see him, as always. He's always got something, he's on a path to greatness now as a manager. But basically he said, how am I not in that side? And I said, the midfield pairing is Barry Ferguson, and you weren't a better player than him, and Jude Bellingham. And please tell me you're not saying. And he goes, yeah, but I was. He was 15 when he was playing the Blues. I was a much better player when I was. But he's not having an absolute bar of it. He's not having that he was not better than Barry Ferguson, and he's not better than Jude Bellingham at 15. He wasn't having any of it. And then, so we had a lot. And you know what he's like, Tatts? You've had these conversations with him many a times. Yeah. It was part of his psyche as a player, wasn't it?
It was obviously in my Birmingham Mail days when you do the player ratings, you would get a call on a Monday.
6? I'm better than Damian Johnson. He got 7.
So he's great entertainment, and I think you mentioned on the previous podcast he was the right player at the right time for us. He was outstanding for what he did.
Yeah.
But he can be hard work when you bump into him in the press room like that.
So of course we're raising our voices, and Gary Thompson pipes over, "Oh, you pair, calm down." And I went, "Listen, I'm just talking to him about the 16th of September 2002. If you want to join in, you're more than welcome." I think it was the 16th of September, and he knew what we were talking about. He goes, "Oh, we're always talking about our history," and I said, "Hello." Do you know what I mean? Lack of self-awareness, do you know what I mean? And Tom, but yeah, no. So and then Tav said something about, shouted over, "Hey Mox, our new stadium." He said, "Yeah." He goes, "You could fit Villa Park inside it, couldn't you?" And I was like, "Not here." So anyway, bless him. It was good to see him. He was on good form, and watch out for R Savage, the manager, because he's come into a club near you.
Yeah, very interesting. Sav as the manager. I genuinely didn't think he'd go down that route, but fair play to him. And he gives his teams freedom of expression, and he likes to attack and play.
Well, he likes to have a spark about his teams. He likes his teams to get around the pitch like he did. Listen, if they're a microcosm of Robbie Savage, the player, with his life and energy and joie de vivre and all the rest of it, you wouldn't have any problems, with him being a manager, would you? Really, to be honest.
Yeah, average mark 5 every game. If his team's doing that, they'll be good. Yeah.
Yeah, you tell him, not me. Right, I think that just about brings to a conclusion the latest dollop of the Forever Blues podcast. Thank you ever so much for being with us. Thanks to everybody for their continued support. That goes for Davison's Law and our junior partners, AMG Logistics, Drain Tech and Beauty Spirits. And I know I said that I would divvy up the booze, and I will do. That'll be coming in the next week or so. But for now, don't forget to follow, like and subscribe us. It's Forever Blues. Just tap that into your search engines. And for now, until the next time, keep right on.